think I've done this Zoom shit like 1,000 times and I still find a way to screw it up every time I try it.
Yeah, I usually did it a couple times. The only time I started using it was with some of my reps and shit for my furniture business, and then I'm building a house in Boise, so I had to Zoom call a bunch of shit because there's no going over there all the time, so it's easier to do it from here.
Yeah, no, damn, man. Building a house through Zoom, I can't fucking imagine.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I got to go up there a couple times, but it was like I didn't even see the house. It was more or less just going through pictures, and that was kind of how I I just picked out a house. I was like, fuck it, just get this house. And so I was actually I got to go up there 2 weeks ago and actually picked out all the appliances and the flooring and all that kind of stuff. So it's like a semi-custom build on the house. But
Why Boise?
um I just want to get the hell out of California and just kind of over it here. I'm gonna sell out my business to my business partner, and then because I still am like a brand ambassador for Fly. So I do that. I got a multi-year deal with those guys, and then I'm going to start developing, or that's the point was going there is to kind of start getting more in tune with the company, and I'm actually going to start building products for Harleys through our company at Western Power Sports up in Idaho. So it just makes sense to be there. It's closer. It's I don't have to do the shit back and forth from California and send parts, go there, go here. So it just makes it easier just being in one spot.
No, man, I've never been to Boise, never been to Idaho. I've heard it's
Uh,
absolutely amazing.
yeah, it's pretty awesome up there. Like good people, and I mean the weather's awesome in the summer, but it's a little cold right now. But I mean, for the most part, it's just a better life, I think, than California, most likely. So
Now, you grew up, born and raised in Southern Cal, right?
yeah, I've been here since the start. I mean, we moved a couple times as kids to Oklahoma and back and forth, but for the most part, I've been here, and I traveled to. Well, no, I went to when I was racing for JGR. I bought a house in Charlotte, so I was there for 3 years. No, it was actually 5 years actually. So I was there for 5 years, back and forth between California and North Carolina. So it was just easy because when it was summertime, I'd go back there, and then wintertime I'd stay in California just so I can actually ride because it gets too cold back there. It starts snowing and raining a bunch. So
Hmm. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, I'm somewhat ignorant to like motocross world, but it's always been something that I was into. You know what I mean? I loved watching it on television. I loved playing video games that were motocross, and I knew people that did it, but it missed me as a kid.
okay,
And it seems like, am I right in saying there's like a lot of people in Southern California, like that Riverside, Temecula? I didn't know what it was, but it seemed like there was a lot of people from that area. Is there something about it? Was there a lot of programs, or like how did you get involved early? Because it seemed like by the time I realized that it was cool and it was something I would have been interested in doing, the kids that were doing it had been doing it for 10 years already.
yeah. So the whole Cali thing was because it was at one point in time it was the best tracks. All the manufacturers were in California, so all of our factory test tracks are in Corona. So it's like a compound up on the hill. So we have KTM Husky, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, Cowie 1, Cowie 2, and then across the street there's another Cowie track. So it's all stuck in this area. But now like Honda, Yamaha, and somebody else, they're moving to Georgia now. So it's all the factory is going to Georgia now. So it's kind of hit or miss. Like some of the race team's going to stay in California, and then most of it's like the personnel is going to go back to Georgia and then just start back there. So,
Mhm.
but but now it's like a lot of factory guys are just kind of burnt on California because it's the tracks are sucking, they're not as good. So then everybody's going and building tracks in Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, just because it's way better riding, better dirt, better training and stuff. So it kind of bounces back and forth too on what time of the year.
Yeah. Well, in California, I mean, it seems like it's every direction going in the wrong direction. My parents, my mom, my two younger brothers live out there, and I feel for them. It's like my mom's not. We're all from the East Coast, but they've moved out there, and my mom's still got like that East Coast mentality, and she's kind of
Uh,
loud and boisterous about it. And think she's learning really quick that she's in the wrong place right now. She's like, oh, what did I do? You know, she moved out there right before the pandemic hit. So
Oh, so she just recently came
yeah,
out.
she
Oh,
just recently moved out there.
terrible time. But what made him come out here?
So my young brother moved out to Southern Cal, like Anaheim area, shit, probably like 5, 6 years ago. Just he was the one brother that was like, fuck it, I'm out of small town Pennsylvania. I'm tired of this shit. I'm gonna actually move out west. And he went out there, worked some odd jobs like in water restoration and mold removal, and
Okay.
worked his way into the cannabis industry. And
Okay.
he helped
That's
me
good.
he helped me get over into that space, and we invested in some businesses, and he's done well with it. And he just actually took some of what he's done and started his own business in the water and mold restoration. So he kind of went back and kind of dove into the industry, tried to make money while he had the opportunity, and then went back and is trying to like pave a little bit more of a solidified path. But my other brother works for Weed Maps, and my mom works for the VA, but she's also a Reiki practitioner. So I don't know if you know what Reiki is. It's kind of like it's like massage without touching you. It's
Okay.
hysterical. I don't want to say it's hysterical. It's we bust
How do you
her
do
we
that?
we bust her chops, but
All in the
it's
mind, or
yeah, it's like I don't know. It's just some crystals involved, and my mom's very spiritual, and it's I don't know. She claims it, and the people that pay her there, I mean, she gets people that come back for more. So I don't know.
I mean, as long as it works, you can make that's all you can do, right? If it
Yeah,
works, it works.
she loves it. I think it's just it fits her. She's happy, so
Yeah,
it's fun
that's
for me too because it gives me something to mess with her about. But
yeah, yeah. I did. It's funny. I got a massage when I was in Boise, like in August, and kind of started like that. I was like, I went in there and it was like the lady was super hippie, and I'm like, this is fucking weird a little bit. And she started burning sage around the room and all this shit, and then like it was like 5 minutes straight before the massage. Like I'm laying, I'm laying down in bed, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna, I'm gonna put pressure on your chest, and we're gonna go through this talk and all this shit." And I'm like, I don't fucking want to do that. Just rub my back. It's fucked up. Like I don't want to sit here and talk to you about whatever the hell you got going on. And I was like, just fucking do your shit. Leave me alone.
yeah,
But
it's funny, man, because like I'm really skeptical. I'm open to anything, but like I'm always like I'm open, but I'm gonna until I see something significant, then I'm just gonna kind of in the back of my mind call it bullshit. Um, and nothing has ever seemed to work. But my wife and I were struggling to have a child, and my mom's like,
okay.
"Let me do the Reiki, let me do the Reiki," and so like we kind of humored her and everything, and like within a month we were pregnant. So it's like
Oh, good shit.
she always goes back to that and reminds me. She's like, you say that this is all a bunch of woo woo stuff, but you have a beautiful little boy now because of that. So
Wow. So she
yeah,
puts it on you like that.
she does. She loves
Oh,
the guilt trips. But now so they're loving Cali, but I think right now it's not for them either. And I considered moving out there a couple of times, and it just the more time I spent out there, you could feel it, the kind of environment changing. You know what I mean? It's not. And when I would talk to people who had lived there their whole life, I didn't get a sense that they were really thrilled with how things were happening.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I live in like a pretty like Republican area.
Hmm.
So it's not terrible, but I mean, you go to LA and it's just like this place is freaking weird, man. I try not to go there, and I try to stay in this little area where I know it's kind of somewhat normal still. And but it's I mean, I guess it's like any big city, but it's always difficult to kind of deal with that and deal with so much political bullshit. It's just like, come on,
Yeah.
just like shut up and you know, handle your shit.
So is motocross racing right now during all this stuff, or like what's the status of all that during pandemic?
So kind of what happened is I think right about I did the last event with Fly Racing in where we were in Atlanta, so it had to have been February, March, and then COVID hit, and then they shut it down for quite a few months, and then we finished everything in Salt Lake City. So it was no fans, limited spectators, like no family in the seating. You had to watch from the semi truck, and So they finished the rest of the Supercross season in Salt Lake City. Like they just ran, like I think it was what they do, like a Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, kind of. They finished the last, I think, 6 or 7 rounds, but and then they postponed outdoors. They kept postponing it, and then they ended up just kind of crushing everything into 8 rounds at a couple different places. But it was a little bit hectic. And then, like, I mean, even now going into this next year for Supercross, like they just canceled all the Glendale races. We're supposed to have 3 races in Glendale, and they just canceled Glendale out, so no more Arizona. So then it went to Orlando. So it's just kind of like it's just like waiting to see like what city, what state, what governor is gonna have a fit and say no, this isn't allowed. So it kind of sucks for the riders. Like if I was racing, it'd be kind of shitty because you're like, well, damn, am I gonna show up and race? Like what's really gonna happen? But I guess it's everybody's in the same boat, so they kind of have to just deal with it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's I turn on the NFL and it's like empty stadiums. You watching a UFC fight. And it's kind of cool. It's like you're watching an actual fight in high school again because you hear every punch and every knee,
Yeah,
every breath taken. But I don't know, something just seems funny about the whole situation.
it's a shame, man. I don't get it. Like just like shutting everything down because I think they just Newsom just shut down California again for another 3 weeks. Just like what are you trying to fix here, man? Like it ain't gonna do nothing different. Just the differences of like I can go to Costco and stand in line between 50 to 100, 200 people, and that's okay. But I can't have my store open, even though I do. I don't shut my store down. I don't give a shit. They can try to come arrest me, and they won't. But it's just kind of shitty. It really ruins a lot of people's businesses. I mean, obviously, it's been happening for 8 months now, so it's kind of
well,
just a struggle.
well, when
But
you think about it, I'm not, I can't take credit for this. I'm just regurgitating what I've seen said really well by other people. But there's been 8 to 10 months time for the government to fix what was the problem 8 to 10 months ago. Like, why are there no more hospital beds? We talked about all these different things, and small business owners are the ones that had to get creative and spend their own money to put fucking plastic up over shit and make it half capacity and then 25% capacity. And there's been seemingly no effort by any government other than to say, no, take less. Sorry. No, we're going to have to send a health inspector out. Nope. Sorry. You had a little bit over capacity. The fact that they haven't done a quarter of the work that the small business owners, to me, is
mm,
baffling. But then when you really think about it, it really shouldn't be baffling because we've been getting fucked by the government every which way and sideways for years.
yeah, it's crazy because I mean I just drive around town and you see these restaurants that put in all that work and it's like outdoor seating covered and I'm like, what's the damn difference? Like you got an inside restaurant and then now they're building an outside restaurant that's approved by the government originally, but it's all closed off in plastic tents. Well, what are we doing here? There's no difference. But I'm just glad in Temecula, Old Town Temecula, that entire street, it's like a 2 mile long street. They all said F you and they're all open. Every restaurant's open,
Awesome.
every bar's open, they're downstairs. And I was like, hell yeah. But then you go, as soon as you leave that one exit, everybody shut down. All just takeout only. It's just kind of, I wish everybody would have just jumped on that bandwagon and said,
Mhm.
screw you, and just kept it open. But I don't, I don't know where they should have all came together, but
Yeah,
unfortunately they
I think
haven't.
the,
So
the unfortunate thing, it's the people are very fearful of repercussions of social media. They don't want to be the
mm,
person called out on Facebook. They don't want to be canceled. So it's just to them, I feel like everybody's like, all right, I'll just conform so that we can get through this because I don't want my life to be inconvenienced anymore. And I just
yeah,
wish people would, at a minimum, be open because it feels like you can't even have the conversation. That's where it's scary to me. Like, I'll look, you don't have to agree with me. Maybe we see things differently, but I get really scared when I try to address the conversation and people are like, no, we're not allowed to even talk about that. You can't bring that up. So,
yeah, I hate that the most. Like I get in battles with people about stuff like that, and I'm like, you're just a 9 to 5 person that wants to argue with you. Like you don't actually know what it's like to own a business. Like you clock in, clock out, you go home at the end of the day, and you don't worry about it, and you always know you're going to collect an unemployment check if something doesn't happen. So you're not seeing the other side of what people are going through. And it's unfortunate, but that's just kind of, the biggest problem I see is that. And then, you want to get into somebody and have a cordial conversation, and they just start firing off and being stupid. And you're like, it's not even worth it. And I get into that all the time on my Instagram with people, and I'm just like, number one, like, screw you, unfollow me. I don't care. Like, this is my platform. You can go somewhere else. Like, get out of here. See you later. Like, I ain't gonna argue with you.
Yep.
But
No, there's people that make a career out of just surfing and trying to create discontent and get a little like boost because people see that they got into it with Weston. It's like,
it's funny.
yeah,
It's funny. Like, I've had numerous times where it's like, it's just people like that. They just chase the attention. They start a conversation and they want to talk crap, and then you call them out on their bullshit. And then I get it all the time. Like, I'll call them out on their bullshit, and then they'll send me a private DM and say, "Hey, sorry, bro." Blah blah blah. And I'm just like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you're just a waste of time, is what it is. That's why I call them just time wasters, and that's just how life goes. People are got their hands with nothing on them, and they're just sitting here, got nothing to do, and they just want some type of action in their life. But
yeah, yeah. So you have a business doing furniture. Tell me about this.
yeah, so after my injury in 18, it was back in November 18. So then I kind of I mean, I have, I've done well racing. So I kind of I had a vape shop. I owned a vape shop from 2015, and I sold it last year. And then, so my neighbor Jody, he's been in furniture for 20 years and stuff. And so we were over here talking after it was probably 2019, a couple months after my injury. And he's just like, "Oh, what do you want to do? Like, you want to open a business potentially?" And I was like, "Yeah, maybe." And then we kind of talked, and then this spot came up, a retail spot, and then we're like, screw it, let's just do it. So we actually jumped into it as partners in May of last year, and then just kind of started taking off, and it's been really successful and something I've never done before, that side of retail, and being really hands-on with it, and dealing with customers and handling the whole back end of the business. And it's it's a good experience for me, for sure. And it's still going right now. It's still doing well. We kind of never shut down through COVID, and our numbers spiked crazy with COVID, like just like any other business that stayed open.
Hmm.
um, so it's been successful. It's just that fine line of, like, anybody right now is trying to find product, and the manufacturers aren't shipping from overseas, and it's delayed materials, this and that. So it's kind of been a struggle on that side of it, just trying to get product available. But
Hmm.
it's been an experience, man. I mean, I'm a hustler, man. I like to just kind of, get into things that I'm not comfortable with, and make the best of it, and learn, and just, I mean, that's kind of been my life, since I was a kid, just kind of always hustling, and just trying to figure out the best of it.
Baptism by fire.
Yep.
No, it's
So
true. It's I did a little bit of research on your background, and it sounded like, again, with my ignorance to how the sport really operates, seems like there's limited opportunities to kind of be sponsored, but being sponsored gives you this an advantage ultimately, right? You're riding the best stuff. You've got teams that are supporting you financially. You've got just the ease of life. And then, I kind of heard you speak through some of how you were supporting this and your family was supporting this, and the travel and the money and the time and the resources that kind of went into it. I mean, can you get kind of explain? Because again, I'm so ignorant to this stuff. Like, how does that all work, and what kind of advantage do you have when you are signed to one of those organizations?
yeah, yes. I mean, it's pretty crazy. The whole sport is like, to me, I think it's pretty ass backwards, upside down on how they kind of go about it and how they structure it, and the availability and the money that's not there and all that. But obviously, I've been riding my whole life, and I went to regular school. I played football and everything, and then once I jumped back into motocross, as I was playing football, I got expelled from every school I was in, and then I kind of, at that point, I was like, "You're an idiot. You're not going anywhere with school." And then so after I got expelled in ninth grade, my dad came to me and he's like, "What are you gonna do, you idiot? Like, you've gotten expelled from every school you've gone to. Like, you want to work for me, or you want to start racing again?" And I was like, "Well, I ain't freaking working for you. Like, I'm not gonna paint for a living. Like, screw that." And so that's kind of where it took off. I started out in '06, running amateur stuff, and then '06, '07, '08. Um, did amateur stuff. I really didn't have much support. I had a little bit of here and there. And then my last year amateur, I won a couple championships. And then there really was no future for me in that. So then we kind of just hopped right into pro racing professionally, and just kind of, my dad bought two bikes. We went racing at, the local national, and it just kind of spiked from there. And with that, I mean, that whole timeline of my career was like from 2009 to 2014, it was just pure hell struggle. Like there's like, you're reaching, you're trying to find as much help as you can. And it's like, you have that potential, but since I didn't go through that strict route from when I was 5 years old to being a professional amateur and the whole BS program, like I was overlooked. I was like the 100% guy that was overlooked. Like you'd reach out for help, and it was just like, yeah, you're nothing. Like, yeah, keep on doing what you're doing. And but I just kind of I always had that mentality of just like, never give up, never quit. And I had people helping me, obviously my dad, mom, brother, sister, and just other friends that helped me get along the way of racing. And it really just kept me positive, and made me a better person as in getting that point. So then, after getting told that you're never going to make it so many times, it's like, that's only going to make you angrier and want to fight harder for something. And so then, come 14, I had my own team for Supercross, and then I signed my first factory contract with RCH, with Carmichael and Kerry Hart, and I raced for them for the whole outdoor series. And then kind of from that point, then I could prove, hey, now I have the best bikes. I can focus just on racing, and that kind of really, that took me to the next level of being able to just focus on racing and perform to the maximum that I could. And then so at that point, I signed with them through outdoors, and then I signed my first JGR contract in that same year, actually, for the next year of 2015. And but jumping into just the whole motocross program is like, it's like I said, it's pretty cutthroat, as in sponsors, teams, and what you're doing and how hard you're working. And it's kind of, there's really no, you really can't screw up. You know what I mean? Like if you screw up and you start slacking off, and you're always like in that contract year. Because I mean, as me as a racer, since I didn't come up from the get-go and I wasn't that big name guy, I was literally, I was year to year. I'd never signed a 2-year contract in my entire life of being a professional racer. And just having that in the back of your head every year, you're like, God damn, I don't have a ride for next year. Like, when am I going to get signed? What am I going to make? How's this going to work? And, thankfully that I signed with JGR, it was, we all meshed really well. We had great relationships. And, Coy and J-Bone, they kept me on, and they stuck with me through my best and my worst times. And and I had to prove back to them every single time, and just keep on boosting myself and getting better and better and better. And it kind of, it worked out for me. I stuck with that team the whole entire time, because that's what I wanted to do, and that's where I wanted to be in, because they took care of me, man. It's like, I'm a loyal person, and when someone gives me a chance that I never could get from anybody else, it's like, I'm going to give you everything I have. And that's kind of what I did with them, and also with Fly Racing and Western Power Sports. They've been with me for 12 years. So it's a great, it's a great sport with great people, but then it gets to that point where it could just be super cutthroat, like you see with a lot of riders. It's like, in, out, gone, see you later, you're forgot about. So it's always a tough game, with all that. But it's kind of that's the sports, though.
Yeah, no, I can imagine the consistency and having a strong group of people around you all the time could make all the world of difference. So when you're,
Yeah.
I was trying to like think, when you're practicing for, like, you think about other sports, you'll understand what your weaknesses are. It's like, okay, I'm a fighter, right? I'm not really good on the ground. I'm getting beat on the ground. So I'm going to go find somebody who's really good at that, and I'm going to practice ground. Or if I'm in basketball and I need to work on my free throw shooting, or you get the gist, right? Like, what is that like in a sport where seconds or half a seconds are really what matters? Like, how do you prepare for something like that, aside from just going out and riding and just ripping through the course?
Yeah, so it's almost kind of the same way as, say, football, basketball. um on our off season, obviously we take our whole year previous from that, and then we kind of break it down and say, hey, this is where you sucked at, this is where you lost time at, you should be better here. When we go into our off season after we're done with nationals, it's kind of like, I was with my trainer buddy Antonis for freaking 8 years. So So we would just break it down and figure like, hey, this is where your weaknesses are. So we would take an entire month on our off season and, ride 3, 4 days a week. And we would just literally work on strictly technique, skills, speed. We'd break down the track into multiple different sections. And I'd spend a whole day at the track just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again until it was natural to me. And then that's kind of where I feel like I excelled a lot, is I put a lot of time into myself and my riding technique and to get better. So that's kind of, like I said, it relates just like in any sport. You just got to put the time in on the things that you suck at, and then you got to get better on. And that's what I did a lot. And it looks dumb. You're out the track just doing drills all day long. You know what I mean? You're just over and over and over and over again. And you see people riding just doing consecutive laps, and it's like, but then those people are never going to get better because they're never bettering their technique and their style of riding, and bettering those little fine-tuned things. Because like you said, it comes down to seconds, and it's, you break down a track. We have a couple systems that we use, and it literally will overlay me, and it'll overlay somebody that has, let's just call it the fastest time in practice. Like, we can video it, overlay it, put them together, and then it'll literally show which part of the track you're faster and slower in, inside, outsides, what jump section you're doing. So it's kind of good to have that, just to break it down, as in, how can you be better? How can you beat him this weekend?
So are you like generating analytics and things like that you can look at and understand, maybe like your like speeds into certain areas, and just like all sorts of data points, or is it?
No, you are, yeah. So going into a whole nother level of that is, um, same thing. I mean, even when we're at the practice tracks and at race tracks, we run data on our bikes all day long. My practice bikes have data, race bikes have data. So as we're breaking down our laps on camera, we're also breaking down that in data, on with our engineers and our ECU guys and our motor guys, and they're saying, hey, well, you're losing this time here because you're not shifting. You need to shift up sooner. You need to shift down. You need to get off the clutch, get off the brakes. So we have sensors on everything, so you just pretty much just overlay it on the video that you're actually watching, and it really just kind of gives you a sense of idea of like, well, crap, yeah, I revved it out too long here. I should have shifted up. That would have been a half a second here. And we just kind of put it all together in a piece and then study it. And then that's when we go racing. And it kind of just folds into that. And that's kind of how we base our off seasons, and that's how we test, and that's how we get, the best bike we can at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. I'd imagine you almost absorb that into your own psyche as well too, and it just naturally improves your own ability because you start to understand, even at a deeper level, to your point, like, okay, I need to start shifting here, and what that feels like now, and then you take that on to the next race, and not even need to be told that in the future.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Once we keep going over things like that, and then we get to that next point where it's like, okay, well, this is what worked on the weekends. This is what we need to focus on during the week. It's shift up a gear. Take more of these lines because this is how it's developing on the weekend. So it's a lot of things that would definitely come into play, as in, muscle memory, and just remembering it in your head all the time of like, this is what we got to do. This is what we're working on. Focus on this, and that's kind of how we kind of came together as a really good team, and that's how it was a good fit, with just kind of being able to have access to the abilities of those things. So.
Yeah, because then there's different track conditions, I would imagine. Some courses still inside. Do they do that?
So like what, 60-70% of our Supercross races are inside.
Okay.
And then the rest are open stadiums, and then all of our outdoor racing is all outside. So it's a whole different system. Obviously Supercross is indoors, closed course, an average lap time is 50 seconds. And then when we go outside to outdoors, we're talking 2 minutes, 3 minutes, kind of depending on which layout or which track route for that week.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it all plays in. There's so many things, but like from when we race in California, then when we go to Atlanta and Dallas and St. Louis, like the dirt changes so much. Then at that same time, we change our bikes. So that's kind of like where I related back to, during West Coast Supercross, I train in California. So my bike in California is completely different than my bike on the East Coast. The suspension setup's different, chassis is different, the wheel length, tires are different. So you kind of have to adjust to that, and kind of pregame yourself a couple weeks before and start heading East Coast to start getting used to something different, because that's what the tracks are different. You know, you have a lot more ruts, the dirt's tackier, you're not getting a lot of wheel spin. So everything changes. But, you know, from the team's past history, that we kind of have that starting base of, instead of, so we're not with our hair, you know, running around like chickens and stuff. So we kind of have that base program to start with.
No, it's really cool. I love trying to like break this down because like drawing similarities. Even it's weird as it sounds, from like golf. You know what I mean? It's like different conditions. You have, you know, different courses. I have a cousin that's really big into golf, and he would just like sit there and hit balls from like a certain distance because he knew that was where he was always going to hit his initial drive. So it
Mm.
was just kind of like that deliberate practice of learning. So
That's,
it's
yeah,
really cool.
that's one thing that really, like, that's one thing that I'm glad I had my trainer buddy with, is like, he was so for technique. Like his whole life, his whole training base was like technique. If you have the technique down, then everything else is going to come along with that. And that's kind of, you know, where a lot of trainers, they just want to go to the track and pound out laps and faster, faster, faster. But it's like, then you start getting sloppy. You know, you're not actually being a legit rider. You're going fast, but you don't have technique, you know. So it kind of, it's, I have a lot of technical skills behind me, as in, you know, training with him for such a long time.
That's really cool. So I told somebody that I was doing this podcast after you and I connected on social media, and
Mhm.
they were like, "Hey, Weston's a badass. He's like one of the only guys that's ever gotten into a fist fight during a race." Is there truth to that? Like, what's the story behind this?
Oh, so I mean, I've been raised differently, man. I was raised with a brother that I used to fight with all the time, and, you know, same with my pops. You know, that's just who I am. And you know, I'm more of like the guy that's like, take no shit. Like, if you got a problem, like, let's step behind the semi and handle it, you know. But there's not a lot of people like that. But yeah, I mean, at the point, you know, I'm not always that kind of person, but if you push me to that point, I will be that person.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so I've had numerous incidents with, you know, the same person, with, you know, like you said, with, you know, punching somebody on live TV and all that stuff. But that's a funny story, because it goes back to like 2012 or 13, when I was a privateer, and that same dude cleaned me out at Washougal National during practice. Like, we're not even racing. Like, this is a practice incident. He cuts the track, cleans me out. So I get up and I start hitting him. So this went back from like years ago. So this was then. So I got fined back then, almost you know, almost got suspended for a couple races, and then all that. So then fast forward, you know, I'm always racing this kid. You know, we're kind of the same speed for a few years, and then I kind of just took off and you know, left him. And then back to that, you know, it was the same thing. I kind of had, that was my bad year, actually. So when I was in 2017, my second year with JGR, I kind of took a different route on my training program, and it kind of bit me in the ass. And so I was kind of like the guy that was a little off pace. And so I was kind of back down to his pace of like his level, where he can kind of catch me, and if he wanted to. So we had an incident that same night. He ran me high off the berm, hit a hay bale, flipped over the bars, and then went back into the semi race of the night. Same thing. I went wide into a turn, and he just never stopped and just cleaned me out. And then at that point, I was like, I didn't even have to look and see who it was. I knew it was him, because he's the only dirty rider like that. So I just went full black and just started. I didn't care what I was hitting at that point. You know, people talk crap. Well, you're punching the helmet. I'm like, I don't give a shit what I was hitting. I just wanted to hit him. You know, and that's kind of that. But you know, that was, like I said, that's just my mentality of like, you can only push somebody so far, and
Mhm.
they're going to snap, you know. And then they kind of take that as in like, you know, there's a lot of people that didn't like it, and there's a lot of people that did like it, you know, just because they know his background and they know my background. I just, you know, I don't take any shit. And that's kind of where it left off with that. And I've never really had an issue with him since.
I'm sure, as much as to your point, people who didn't like it, there had to have been a big surge of popularity that kind of gained from that, because of people realizing like, oh fuck, this guy's real. Like he's no bullshit.
Yeah, it definitely took my level of being known to another level of just social media and just fan base and everything else. And I mean, as well too, I mean, I think it's the only motocross video that made it on ESPN, actually. So it's just funny, like, you know. And then you get into that, and it's like, with all that BS, like I got suspended for 2 weekends, got a $5,000 fine and all that. And it's like the worst part about it is like that they played it all year long on national TV. And it's like, how can you suspend me for 2 weekends and fine me and then just keep playing it and advertise it? So that's back to where I think there's a lot of bullshit in this sport, with how it really goes down. But
Hmm.
you have no control over it because we're all just clowns. We're in a circus. At the end of the day, is what I call it. It's a circus, and until anything changes, until it gets unionized, we're all just here for them, and that's how it goes. It's a different sport.
Yeah, it's a really interesting problem too, because I'm right there with you. I mean, college athletes are another great example of that. I mean, the billions of dollars that college sports generates, and there's barely anything. I mean, yeah, you give kids a free education in some cases, but what's that worth anymore, anyways? So it's like, it's interesting. But then I'm also the person to turn on the television and support a system that's really exploiting people in some ways, because, I'm selfishly interested in watching it.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely different. Sure.
No, but it seems like, initially we were talking, retirement's been pretty good for you, or to you, I guess. And I know, 2018, you had mentioned you had a really serious accident. I had followed along with your story as it was being shared, kind of what you were going through because of the circumstances and, being overseas, and kind of what had happened. So, I mean, we don't have to touch too much on it, share whatever you'd like, but I mean, can you kind of lay out the scenario and kind of what occurred, as that was
Yeah.
in September, right? Of 2018,
November 2018.
November.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was kind of real weird off season. It was one of my best years I had. Racing, I got my permanent number, got enough points. So then I had a national number. So I had a really great year. And I was actually supposed to be going to Japan when this happened. So I was supposed to go race in Japan. It got canceled. So then I wasn't planning on doing any international races. I just wanted to stay home, train, and better myself for 19. And then it was like a Tuesday and I was out road biking training, and I get a call from Eric Pernoid, one of the promoters for France for the Supercross race over there, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'll just training, dude." And he's like, "You want to come over and race this weekend?" And I'm like, "Well, it's Tuesday. When do I got to leave?" He goes, "You got to pack your stuff and fly out tomorrow." So I had to make a quick decision of like, well, shit, I'm not gonna be able to ship a bike over there. I'm gonna have to just send parts. So it's kind of super scrambled the whole way through. And then so I ended up saying, cool, I'll go, let's go. So it was last minute. Me and Justin Hill, my mechanic, went over Souls and just kind of put bikes together. And we're kind of really unprepared. And then like obviously, first night of racing, got to the first race, second race. Then obviously just came around the first turn, got collided with another rider, and then I wake up a few days later, don't remember anything, and just kind of going through the motions. And then my dad's over there and Travis is over there, and just kind of trying to figure out what happened at this point. I can't talk, I'm trached, can't see out of my right eye. So a lot of crazy stuff that went on, through that injury, and obviously, getting hurt out of it. They put me in an induced coma for 4 days. I had 4 or 5 surgeries in France, to reconstruct my whole face. I had a Lafort fracture 1, 2, and 3. Um, just numerous problems, and so I'm just at this point, I'm lucky to be alive at that point, because I've seen a lot of doctors and they all see my face scans and they're like, dude, you should be dead. Like you shouldn't even be alive with what happened. And but that's just my destiny, man. You just fight hard and you stay with it, and that's I came out of it alive, and I'm grateful for the career I had, and I can't ask for anything else than I had. But it's just one of those things where going into that injury in France, language barrier, and like you don't even know what's going on because you're so out of it. You're doped up on morphine and drugs because you're in and out of surgery. And So it was a struggle, man. I mean, it was something I wouldn't wish upon anybody, to ever go through that. And but just I was stoked when I finally got out of that country. Just being there for 18 days in a hospital, and just trying to get your body going again. And once I kind of got to it, I was like, I told the nurse and the doctor, I said, take me off all this shit because this is slowing me down. And they just wanted to pump you full of morphine. Here's more morphine, like take pain. I'm like, I don't do pain medicine. Like cut the shit off. So, once I cut all that off and got done with that, I literally just started instantly getting back to normal.
Mhm.
Started getting up out of bed slowly, standing, spinning my legs on a little bike thing. And, at that point, once I started getting the blood flowing and moving, then I was like, okay, it's time to get the hell out of here. Like, told my dad, book a flight, get me out of here. Done with this place. Fly me home, get out of here. And just that's kind of how it went down, and just kind of came back to the States and just kind of had a couple doctor follow-ups. And I had 5 or 6 more surgeries here over the last 2 years, and just kind of trying to get back to normal for the most part. It's been quite a ride.
Man, I can't imagine, to your point, being in another country, that in itself is just, so it's a lot to think about, but literally incredible to be sitting here talking with you after watching it. I mean, initially when I saw it, I went and like watched it over and over again. It didn't seem like it was something that was like too crazy of a crash. It kind of just like a really freak set of circumstances that you found yourself in.
Yeah, it was I know I watch it to this day and I'm like, how did that happen? You know what I mean? Like, but it's just it happened so fast and it's hard to tell. But it was one of those things where, as I went down and I rolled over, I was laying on the face of a landing, so there was 19 guys behind me because I think I was third. And as I went down and I crashed and on my side, as soon as I went to roll over and look up, the other guy just frame cased the center of my face. So, at that point it was like the worst part to get landed on, because you obviously your goggles are in here, you don't have the full protection of the helmet. And so at that point it was like, you think like, what the hell, like how did all that happen, because the rest of my body was fine. And obviously with that much weight, you have a 250-pound motorcycle, the rider's 150 pounds, 200 pounds in gear. So that's just a lot of force to take upon your face at that point. you
Yeah.
know it's like I said, man, I'm fortunate to be walking. I'm glad that I didn't have any brain damage, and I'm
Mhm.
talk and whatnot. I mean, like I said, I lost my right eyesight with all that because I had optic nerve damage, but that's not the end of the world. I still got, my left eye and I can see really well out of it, and I make the best of it.
Yeah. Had you had any serious injuries prior?
Um, Man, I've been pretty fortunate in my career of like no serious injuries, just kind of, just small broken bones, foot, wrist. But other than that, I mean, I'm kind of been pretty. I mean, it's pretty hard to break me off at this point. You know what I mean? I've
Yeah.
taken hits, and I usually bounce back from it pretty well. And but yeah, I mean, I can't even think of an injury that's really held me out from majority of racing.
Hmm. No, that's awesome. So you mentioned your relationship with Fly Racing. I want to make sure to give you another opportunity to kind of shout them out and what you're doing with them. You're an ambassador for Fly?
Yeah. So I after my injury, I kind of at the point of last year, I was like, I'm not going to be able to race. If my eye's not going to get better, since I've been with Fly Racing for 12 years, I was like, hey, let's work a deal. Let's do a brand ambassador deal. I think it'd be great for the industry and great for the brand. So I instantly transitioned over into that. Starting out halfway through 2019 and then going into 2021 and all that. So I pretty much just we kind of put together a cool program. They kind of give me free reins to be able to dabble in motorcycle stuff, Harley products through Hard Drive, through Western Power Sports and all that. So I kind of my main focus is obviously motorcycles and motocross. So I do the Supercross events. We do ride days across the country. We visit dealers and we kind of just go out and make people aware of who we are and what we're doing, and bringing back the love for the sport, and just keeping it alive more or less. So it's a great company to be with. And I mean, like I said, they've stuck behind me through everything, and I kind of owe it to them, as to kind of get back to them as a brand. So
No, that's really cool. It's really cool.
yeah.
Anything else that you're up to people should be aware of?
Man, I just busy, man, right now. Just, we're obviously detuning from, we did our last ride day 2 weeks ago. Just at this point, like I said, just wide open, building a house in Boise and just trying to detune from that. And obviously with the holidays coming up, family coming to town, and, trying to get the business stuff sorted out and everything else. But it's been pretty mellow, for the most part. But I mean, just can't. I mean, there's really nothing else I do. Just running the business here and traveling for Fly and just trying to have a great time, man. Just trying to enjoy a retired kind of life from motocross, but still kind of stay busy and be active.
Yeah. No, man, that's really awesome. You a coffee drinker at all?
Yes, I'm drinking coffee right now all day, like just coffee, coffee, coffee.
Awesome. I'll connect with you and get your address. I'll send you some. I'm a partner in coffee brand that sponsors this podcast. It's called Aktion. So
Okay.
it's kind of perfect for you. But you'll have to let me know how it tastes. If you're somebody who enjoys it, I'm sure you'll give me an unbiased opinion. We're
Yeah,
always looking for those.
I can opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, man, I enjoy coffee, dude. I got an expensive coffee machine. I do a lot of French press and just kind of cold brew stuff. I'm all over the place, but I enjoy coffee. I don't even get psyched up on it. It's just more of a taste thing for me. I like the flavor of it. And
Awesome.
I actually was thinking, I almost started a coffee business. I was wanting to kind of get into it and, start some roasting and all that kind of stuff. But it was like, I was kind of looking at it like, man, there's so many companies out there that are doing it. And I just didn't want it to fall into a saturated market of being overlooked and overseen. So I kind of
Mhm.
just, pumped the brakes on that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a grind. And that's no pun intended. I'm lucky. I have a great partner. He's a former Onnit employee. So if you're familiar with Onnit
Yep.
supplement brand, so he was VP of operations there for a while, and he left after he went down to Guatemala on a trip and went to this farm on the side of a volcano and was like, I really want to get involved in coffee. So he started the brand and got involved. He does all the roasting for me. So I'm just the front end guy. I do the marketing and some of the other fun stuff. And he's, 5, 6 days a week standing over top of a roaster, perfecting
Okay.
the batch. But yeah, dude, it's fun. I'm excited to send you some, get your opinion on it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Definitely try it out. So,
So
uh,
social media, where can we blast you at?
um, just Instagram, Weston Pike, Twitter, Weston Pike, same as Facebook, Weston Pike. Just kind of those are about the three main sources I'm running on and all that stuff. So we could roll it off with that and kind of go from there.
Well, I appreciate it, man. It's cool having you on. I hope actually get you on here again in the future after you get your self situated up in Boise. Tell me how life is outside of California, how things are progressing and whatnot. But it was a pleasure to have you on and to have an opportunity to talk with you. And good luck with everything that you're working on right now, man.
Definitely appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It's good just to get something else different out there because, like I said, I do so many motorcycle podcasts. It's good to kind of and do something different. Just so other people in the world that don't know what motorcycles is, they can kind of get kind of an idea of what's going on. So
Yeah, no, my wife isn't too fond of me having two wheels, but it's something that my goal is to grab a cool Harley Cruiser here at some point and just sit back and take nice rides on the weekend and enjoy nature. And I'm up in Pennsylvania, so there's like so many really cool areas to go riding. A lot of people do it. Just
mm, yeah,
escape me a
it's
little
fun.
bit.
I built a 2019 Road Glide this year for Sturgis, and I've always been into Harley, so I mean, I love it, man. It's a blast. I really recommend getting a bike and just getting out and taking the wife out and having a good time. It's definitely clears your head, and you just get to experience something different.
Yeah. No, I'll have to make her listen to this a few times and realize what she's missing. And next time we connect, I'll let you know if I made any progress.
Yeah, just don't let her watch any of the crazy people riding them, doing wheelies down the street and all that.
I've told
So,
her too many stories. I had a friend. He actually did the podcast early on. He's a big gun guy and just
okay.
crazy dude. He was like Air Force paratrooper, just lives on the extreme. And he moved to Florida for a number of years, and then he came back to Pennsylvania, and he just spent a lot of time with him in the weight room, and he had this
Mm,
badass Yamaha YZF R1, and
okay.
he would just he would take my younger brother on it and do 100-mile-an-hour wheelies down the road, and my mom would be in tears because just like, you're gonna kill my kid. And he had told us a couple stories. I mean, people that he was out riding with and some of the shit that they were doing down in Florida. And my mom's like, you're never getting on the back of that bike with that man again. But
Yeah, see, I'm the kind of guy, I don't ride street bikes
yeah,
because I just know they go way too fast and I'll end up killing myself. So I just stick to performance baggers, and
mhm.
I mean, my bike still goes 140 miles an hour, but it's more of a a fun little bike, take it out to the canyons and just kind of rip around. I mean, that's kind of what I like, because it's like I said, you get into the street bike stuff and you could push the envelope way more, and then that just sets you up for those little extra errors that can just kind of kill you real quick. So
Yeah, yeah, it's that 0 to 100 and how quickly you can get there is a little excessive, but no.
it's all fun, man. It's good. I recommend getting a bike and getting out. It's a good time.
Yeah, no, for sure. Weston, appreciate it, my friend.
All right, awesome. It was a good time, man. I appreciate you having me on. So
Most
we'll have to catch
definitely.
up.